Little Tony Robbins for you. Little Tony Robbins for you this Friday, May 29th. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we know these things. I know you know these things. I know you do. The question is, are you doing what you know? I know we know the stuff. Question is, are we doing what we know? Now, some things you might not know. Some things you might be like, "Oh, I just learned that. I just picked that up. That's good." But for most of us, when we jump on these morning mindset calls, when we jump in to grow ourselves, to build the capacity we need to handle the life that's up ahead, we know actually what we need to do. The question is, why aren't we doing it? Like, why aren't we doing the things that we know? That's always the question I want you to think about for yourself. I don't know why you don't do certain things. Tony Robbins just gave you some frameworks, some things that you can pick at to be like, maybe I need to start here. If I know something I need to do is really simple, if I know my health life will change if I just eat better and move my body better, right? If I just didn't put the things that I put in my mouth, pause, if I just chose to not do that and I moved my body more, my health would get better. So why don't I do that? It's really simple. These become the blockages. These become the things when we're peeling back the layers for us to grow, to become the best version of ourselves, to get to the life we don't need a break from. We have to start to evaluate. So he gave you a couple things, right, of how to get a breakthrough. Because sometimes we need a breakthrough. We're hitting a wall. You're hitting a wall in your health. You're hitting a wall in your finances. You're hitting a wall in your relationships. You're hitting a wall in your business. Like there's a wall that you can't seem to get through. So you need a breakthrough. You need something that just gets you through that part. Well, Tony Robbins just gave you a little formula of like, hey, here's some things to pay attention to. He went backwards. I'll go of first importance to least. He said the first thing is your state. He talks about it all the time. You've heard it a bunch. Your state will determine all the rest of the things. Your mental, emotional state. Do you have clarity in your mind? Are you emotionally intelligent? Are you mentally tough? That's why we do these calls, is so you can get mentally tough. Most people are mentally weak. That's why they can't change the rest. That's why people struggle to have a breakthrough. That's why their life really never changes, because it actually starts with their mental, emotional state, even their physical state. We're an overweight country. We don't move our bodies in the same ways. The world comes to dumb us down. Social media and all the things come to take our brain. And so now we're fighting out a place of we need this breakthrough, but we don't realize that our state is off. So that's where the work becomes. What are we doing to improve our mental, emotional, physical state? To give you more energy, to give you more vitality. It takes energy to go after your dreams. So if you're constantly low energy, if you're constantly, right, negative thoughts, if we can't get ourselves moving, none of the rest of the stuff matters. What you read, who you're around, like none of that stuff matters. All that matters is you don't have the state, the energy to produce the life that you want. So you gotta change it. If you've ever been to a Tony Robbins event or ever seen a Tony Robbins event, first off, I'd encourage you to go. If the personal development journey is for you, you're trying to get to the best version of yourself, then there's plenty of people that I put in front of you that you read, that you see that help with this type of stuff. Tony Robbins is like the master in all this stuff. I think it might cost 3 grand or 5 grand to go to one of his events. But if you ever go to one of his events, it's like a 3 day like rave with information in it. A rave, right? Like where there's high pitched music, right? People are moving, lots of energy. He forces energy. He forces your state to change before he teaches you anything. You're up jumping around and waving your hands and making noise like you're at a party. And then Tony Robbins comes in and teaches for 8 hours. And then there are little breaks, little 30-minute breaks, little breaks in between where they turn the music on and the lights come on. Everyone gets up and starts getting energized. Why? Because he knows what he's doing to your state. If you just sat here and just wanted to take notes for 8 hours, you're going to fall asleep after the first 30 minutes. The information's not going to get in. You're not going to take the tools. He knows something about state. Do you know that about yourself in your own personal life? Why, when you go to make, those of you that are in business with me, when you go to make those phone calls, you don't feel good about it. It doesn't translate. Why? Because you're sitting down, you're not moving, your state, you just came off of 6 hours of work, right? You just came off of lunch. Like now all of a sudden your energy is so low and you try to make a call to get someone excited to come see your thing. It don't work because your state's not there. You got to pay attention to this in all the areas of your life. Why? Because your state controls everything else. All the other things to getting a breakthrough, your state controls all of it. So if you're not aware of it, if you're not aware of your energy, it's likely the rest becomes a challenge for you. The second thing he talked about was your story, the story you tell yourself. What is our story? It's our set of beliefs. What do I start all these calls with? We have some stinking thinking. If we change our thinking, we can change our life. If we change our belief system, if we change what you believe to be true, just because you believe something's true does not mean that it's true. It says in our text, one of the chapters says, learning how to separate truth from fact. Some of you, those words are even the same, but they're not. The truth versus the facts, right? What you believe to be true is just a story that you've told yourself, like Tony Robbins said, with a bunch of certainty. You go back, you tell me about that story that happened 15 years ago. You've replayed it so many times. You've told the story so many times. You're certain. If we actually went back and had other people talk about that story, they wouldn't say it the same way as you. Why? Because their story is different. What they've told themselves is different. Well, what have you told yourself about financial success? What have you told yourself about health? What have you told yourself about a job? What have you told yourself about your family? Like you've told yourself things over time that have you exactly where you are. We control our state, then we control our story. What are we telling ourselves? Our beliefs. If my belief is that money does grow on trees and your belief is money doesn't grow on trees, we'll operate differently in life. That's my belief. My belief in like money absolutely does grow on trees. It absolutely is abundant. There's a ton of it out here. My belief. I operate differently than someone that's like, it's hard to get money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Man, it's such a struggle to make money. Their belief is different. So we're going to operate differently in life. We're going to take different chances, different risks. We're going to talk to different people. We're going to talk about money differently, and we're going to have a different outcome. So, what are your beliefs? What are your beliefs? They are what narrate your life. So, that's the second thing you got to pay attention to get the breakthrough. The third thing he said is the strategy. We all need a little strategy, right? We all need a little guidance. We all need some people alongside of us to say, hey, not this way, that way. Hey, not this. Maybe we try this. Hey, why do you think about it like this? Let's think about it like this. A little strategy. Hey, this way that you do it probably doesn't work. Let's try it this way. This is where mentorship and coaching and leadership and right people, having a trusted board of advisors, that's where it comes into play. People that you trust to say, let's, I've done that in my marriage. I'm 47 years married. You're 12 years married. Hey, I've done that. Let's not do this. Maybe you should think about it this way. And they're just going to give you a strategy to help you get to the life that you want. I saw a clip from Gary Vee yesterday that said you got to get close to the sun. If there's something you want, someone you want to be like, some life you'd like to live, you have to get close to that life. You have to get close to that environment. You have to be around those type of people so that osmosis, like the energy that comes off the sun can heat you up. You can start to get to where you want to go. That it gives you strategy of what to do, what not to do, where to go, what not to go, where not to go, all the good things. He just gave you a little analogy for a breakthrough or, a little a step-by-step plan if you need a breakthrough in your health, in your finances, in your relationships, in whatever area you need a breakthrough, maybe you should check those things. First, check your state, check your energy, check your vitality, check like, are you mentally drained? Are you burnt out? Do you just wind down? Do you just numb your brain? Or is your brain constantly like creating and going and moving? Because that gives you energy, emotional energy. You got to check your state. You got to check your story. You got to check what you're telling yourself over and over again about what is true and what's not true. Just because it's true to you doesn't mean it's a fact. Some things are different. So maybe you have to unlearn and relearn some new stories in order for you to get to the life that you want. Third thing he talked about was the strategy, having a strategy, getting around people that actually know where they're going. or are at least further ahead. None of us really know where we're going, right? But like some people are further ahead than you. Some people have carved a further path than you. They've done it longer than you. They're smarter than you. They're better than you in a certain area. So guess what? They can give you some navigation, some strategy. But Tony Robbins talked about, right, being in a state of resolve where you're not negotiating your price. You're not negotiating the work that it requires. You're not negotiating whether you should or shouldn't do something. You know with certainty that this is the path I'm going. That's where the vision comes in, ladies and gentlemen. That's where the vision comes in. Now, he talked about something that I'm not going to mention on today's call, right? Like, we're not going to dive into it, but he talked about those 6 basic human needs, y'all. Maybe we do that on Monday. Maybe we do that a different day. But the 6 basic human needs, something to understand that all of us humans, you, me, all of us, we operate the exact same way. We all have 6 basic needs that we're all trying to meet at a certain point in time in life. How we choose what is most important to us, and then how we choose to fill that need creates our life, creates our personality, creates our habits, creates all the stuff. Where that falls, right? Like if you value significance, you do things differently than someone that values certainty. The person that values certainty might always play it safe, might always need a job, might always need something steady, might because that's their highest value. Someone that values significance might want to take theirs. They might want to get on the show. They might want to do because they value something completely different. We're all trying to meet those needs. We'll have another conversation about it, but you should probably go and take a look at that to figure out what you're operating out of. What's really high to you as far as your value system or as far as your basic human needs. We'll touch on it. In the text, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets, I chose this one that's almost at the end. It says the good and the great. The good and great are separated by a razor's edge. That goes back to that strategy part. That goes back to these little things. Life is not a game of feet and right yards. It's a game of millimeters. It's a game of inches. It's if I just make this little shift, if I just do this little thing differently, right? If I just take this little 30 minutes every day and get good in the morning, every day, just that little 30 minutes. Not I got to quit my job and focus on my day and do, no. Just if I take that little 20 or 30 minutes, that shift changes the trajectory of my life. The strategy, razor's edge, thin things. Here's what it says in the text real quick. It says, average people tend to believe world-class performers are so superior, so far out in front, so much smarter, and so much more talented that there's absolutely no way they could become one. And it's not true. It's not even close. The truth, as the evidence in this book suggests, is that there's really only a razor's edge separating the good from the great or the middle class from the world class. Granted, a razor's edge in many different areas, a series of critical subtleties that makes all the difference. The real question this book presents to the middle class performers is this: is it possible for a person of average intelligence and modest means to ascend to the throne of the world class? And the answer is enthusiastically yes. Of course, it's possible. The question is not one of possibility, but of will. History has shown us that the majority of people will not rise up and take the challenge. They could, they have the intelligence and the potential, but they won't. Yet it's because they lack desire. It's not because they lack desire, but because they don't believe it's possible. They're tired of being disappointed. It's easier to simply turn on the television or engage in some other mind-numbing activity. Could they alter their level of expectation and forge ahead? You bet. Through language change and visualization, they could artificially manufacture a higher level of expectation regardless of where they are now. Again, the statistics say most will never attempt it. When you go pro, it's much easier to compete against amateurs. At the risk of sounding preachy, I've been both amateur and a pro, and I highly recommend going pro. Emotionally and mentally, it's actually much more comfortable after you cross the barrier. How do you go pro? It's simple. You decide to do it. Period. Then just go back through this book with a highlighter and model through the thought processes, habits, and philosophies of the great ones. Ladies and gentlemen, you just got to decide to do it. You just got to know that the life you want is possible. And then you just got to say, I'm focused on going after it. These are some tools that you can start to use along the way. Checking your state, checking your story, checking the strategies that you're using. That will help you along the way. But this is separated by such a thin margin. You can make that life happen. I hope you understand that. If anything, like this is to remind you that it's possible. Whatever you think about is possible that you can see. Whatever life you want to create, it's possible. Are you clear on how, like, what you want to make happen? If you're not clear on what you want to make happen, nothing will be possible, right? Like you're just going to end up somewhere. But if you're so clear, this is what my family life looks like. This is what my health looks like. This is what my finances look like. This is where I spend my time. This is where I'm fulfilled. This is my impact in the world. This is what I do. This is who I am as a person. If you're so clear, then after that, it's just a matter of you just get into work. You just saying, hey, it's simple. Okay, I'm going to go after that life. Now I got to become that man or woman. Well, how do I do that? I got to start picking up some of these tools. I got to start changing my state, being aware of my state. I got to start thinking about what I'm thinking about. I got to start getting really good and intentional about every single day and what I'm putting forth in the day to move me in that direction. But the key, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's possible. And that's what I want you to always remember. Might not be here now, but it's possible that you can make that happen. How do we make it come to life? It's on us. It's on us. We got to go do the work. I love you guys. I want you to win. You deserve it. Your families deserve it. If no one tells you, I'll constantly tell you, like, you deserve to win. People are counting on you to win. They're counting on you to get this information. I know you don't know it right now, but people are absolutely counting on you to take this in, apply this information in your life, and take your family and take your life and your legacy to the place you want it to go. But it's going to require you to work. It's going to require you to change. The version you are right now is not going to get you to the next level. You're going to have to change some things. Start with some of the stuff that we're talking about and continue to push yourself out of your comfort zone every day. Do something that challenges you. Do something that scares you. Do something that your future self is going to thank you for because you're different, because you're doing something different. That's what keeps the hope alive that things are possible, that it's possible for you to get to wherever you want to go in life, ladies and gentlemen. Wrap up this May, go out, do something this weekend that is going to challenge you. We'll get back here on Monday. Monday is going to be June 1st. We get a brand new month to start off things and really start to kick off the second half of this year to get you to all your goals and dreams. I love you guys. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday. Take care.